Greetings, fellow humans. I'm Martian Boo. Today I wanted to talk about a potential nerf to the Questline Warlock deck in Wild. This will all be based on my own highly subjective experience. Questline Warlock, or Seedlock, has been a powerful and popular deck since day one of the United and Stormwind expansion. It is so consistently powerful that it has pushed everything even slightly slow out of the meta entirely. I've seen a lot of suggestions for potential nerfs to the deck. Outside of a nerf or ban to the quest line itself, there has been one standout: Crystallizer. This is a 1 mana 1/3 that deals 5 damage to your hero and then grants 5 armor. I see this suggested as a nerf target in my Twitch chat all the time, and I haven't really understood why. The best version of the deck coming out of the first week of United and Stormwind looked very similar to the Darkler lists of the past year. Crystallizer was a mediocre one-of in those decks prior to United and Stormwind, but with the questline it gets the added value of turbo completing the quest in order to play Blightborn Tamsin as early as possible. The thing is, Blightborn Tamsin isn't all that important to Giant Seedlock. It does give you an inevitable win condition, but most of your wins come from smacking your opponent in the face with a giant. When Tamsin is relevant, it's usually because it's a 7/7. The reason the questline is so good in Giant Seedlock is because it's a 1 mana fireball that heals for 6 and discounts your flesh giants by 2. That it adds Blightborn Tamsin to your hand eventually is nice, but if it didn't, you'd still run the questline, and most of the time you wouldn't notice that you're missing it. When you use Crystallizer early on as Giant Seedlock, the armor you get from Crystallizer gets in the way of your other self-damaging spells and effects. That nullifies the benefits you get from completing the questline sub-rewards. There is another version of the deck that surfaced after the first round of standard-focused Warlock nerfs in August. It cut the Giants and goes all in on Blightborn Tamsin to OTK the opponent in fatigue. This version of the deck cares much more about Crystallizer because it doesn't have Flesh Giants to discount, and it does want to get Blightborn Tamsin down as fast as possible. This version of the deck also doesn't care about being at a low life total for Molten Giant, so completing the quest and staying at close to 30 is ideal. With Crystallizer, sometimes you end up completing the quest entirely well above 30. Let's assume that a severe enough nerf to Crystallizer knocks the Fatigue version out of Tier 1. I don't necessarily think it would have that effect, but it's very possible. You still have the other version of the deck that doesn't really care about the card much at all. This is the primary reason I haven't understood the popularity of that nerf suggestion. Players would all just switch back to the Giants version. Then in one of Ixar's AMAs, he said that the Balance team was considering Crystallizer as a possible nerf to the deck. This doesn't mean that it's the card that's going to be nerfed, but the fact that it's being considered means something. They have all the behind-the-scenes data. That inspired me to reconsider my opinions. I played a version of Giant Seedlock without the Crystallizers on and off stream to see if I'd missed them. Largely I didn't, which didn't surprise me because I had played the deck a ton before the second round of Warlock nerfs, and I think I had really good reasons for thinking Crystallizer isn't all that important to the deck. I did notice something else though. My Flesh Giants, which usually cost 0 on turn 5, now cost 1 or 2 almost every game. The nerf to Flesh Giant actually mattered a lot, which is probably why so many people flock to the Fatigue version of the deck now. With Darkler high rolls being a turn slower and playing Flesh Giant on 5 with Loatheb happening much less often, it's possible that if the Fatigue version of Seedlock isn't around, that the deck goes back to being as oppressive as Darkler was leading into United in Stormwind. Ideal? No, but you could play slower decks back then. Right now you can't. Based on some things the devs have said recently about Wild, I feel like they're happy with Painlock strategies being as powerful as they were pre-Stormwind. So if that's their goal, I think a hard enough nerf to Crystallizer might actually get there. I think it would be a shame to stop there because the power of pre-Stormwind Darkler already put a lot of limitations on what you could play, but I'll definitely take it over how things are right now. Overall, I think a hit to the Fatigue version of the deck is more important than hitting the Giant version, and I'm much more open to some nerfs I thought might be too subtle. I'm optimistic that even if the cards they choose to nerf for Wild aren't the cards I'd want, they will have a noticeable effect on the meta. Let me know in the comments what you think of a Crystallizer nerf, and what other nerfs you'd like to see to Seedlock or some other oppressive deck. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.